Hey Journey friends, this is Carrie here. I'm glad to share a little card I created using this Bunny Trail ATS stamp from Fun Stamper's Journey. I'm going to be sharing this card on my blog for a blog hop scheduled for March 13th, and I'd love to have you come and stop by and take a peek. I'm using the stamp set and cut the little flower off of the top so that I could use it as a focal image stamp, as well as use the bunny ears and head in another portion of the card. I'll be creating this card using hyperspeed, so I'll speed it up a little bit, and then once I get to the coloring process of the Easter Bunny, I'll slow it down into real time so that you can see my process. I hope you enjoy and have a good time. Alright, so in keeping with my little scrappy challenge, I decided to use a little bit from a coffee filter that I'd used on a previous card. And so I created a little rosette for the back or behind the little flower stamped image that was created. It's off the screen a little bit, but just a teeny little accordion folded rosette to glue onto the back and add a little bit of fun dimensional element to the card. I'm going to be coloring this with a Copic marker, the little flower with Copic marker, so it can give a little bit of color and a little bit of dimension. So you'll see that in just a second. Again, I slowed it down to normal speed so that you can see my coloring process. I'm using Fun Stamper's Journey inks as well as the blending solution on the back of my clear acrylic block, and using just a little teeny fine bristle brush. Now, for the most part, when I'm coloring with this technique, I wanted to create a little bit of a fuzzy bunny effect. So I'm using pretty much a dry brush technique. There is a little bit of oily residue that is left behind with this coloring technique in the Fun Stamper's Journey Fusion Blender, as well as the ink. So to keep my brush a little bit dry helps to create the effect that I'm looking for. I'm also cleaning my brush off just a little bit and trying to add most of the color throughout the bristles, so that's why you see me painting on the graph paper, is I'm just trying to clean and condition my brush before I get started coloring onto the Easter Bunny. Alright, so I'm just adding just a little bit at a time. I'm not really painting, I'm just kind of dabbing the color on. That helps to control the brush strokes, as well as create this little mottled effect that I want to create for the Easter Bunny's fur. Okay, so as you can see, I'm adding layer upon layer of the dark brown color to the bunny rabbit, trying to make sure that I create some sort of shadowing effect towards the left side of the Easter Bunny. I'll be adding about 3 different browns to create the full effect that I'm looking for. It just takes a little time, and since I'm not painting per se and just dabbing the ink, I can have much more control over where the ink is going. I'm sure you probably saw just a little bit of that oil seeping into the paper, so I want to try to control that by using the least amount of ink as possible, so that I don't get a muddy mess and it doesn't get too oily looking when the product is finished. Okay, so this time I'm adding a little bit of my oatmeal cookie ink. This is a much more greenish brown color. It has a hint of green to it, so I have to be careful which colors I apply it over. And since this is a pink cardstock, I'm being careful as to not use too much of the color, or it brings out a greenish tinge. But it adds a little bit of dimension and dimensionality to the bunny, so I wanted to make sure I included a little bit of that in the finished piece. I'm also shading on the undersides of the Easter Bunny's ears, just to give a little bit of a rounded effect on his ears and on his head. I think that gives him a more realistic look is when you add some shading along the outsides of the body parts. And then just kind of lighten it up towards the side where the light is hitting it. Alright, so now I'm just finishing up the Easter Bunny. I'm adding a little bit more of the darker color to the underside of the ear just to give it a little bit more accentuation of the floppiness in his ear. And once I'm finished with coloring that, I'll put him to the side, add some dimensional foam squares, and apply him to my card at one of the last steps of my card making process. I'm going to speed it up just a little bit again so that you can watch as I try to figure out how I'm going to assemble the card and manage all the pieces. I wanted to add a little bit of a white whipped cream ink to this paper just to accentuate some of those wrinkles on there. I think it's a great effect to add a little bit more pop to your card and just makes it look more professional. I just love this double-sided sticky tape. It has such great stick power. I use it all the time when I'm trying to adhere all different kinds of papers and fabrics and stuff together. The shape of that paper was really bugging me. All it kept reminding me of was the continent of Africa, so I wanted to trim it up a little bit so it looked less like Africa to me. And I'm getting so enthralled in my card making process that I keep forgetting to look up at the camera to make sure that everything is on camera screen and not just hanging off the camera. Sorry that my head's in the way. Now I'm just comparing the teal background with the white background. And I like the teal better, but I still think it's a little bit too blah. So I'll be using a Damask print stamp as well as some clear embossing powder and clear embossing ink to add a little bit more of a pattern to the background. I'll also toss in a little bit of sparkle dust just to give it a little iridescent shimmer after the embossing powder and ink has dried. I just love how this heating just magically makes this shimmer up here. It's so fun to use this technique. When I apply the sparkle dust, it will adhere just a little bit. I'll add a little bit of heat to the embossing powder, just to adhere just a few grains of that sparkle dust, and then I'll brush it off with my hand. So only a hint of that dust will be left embedded into um, the, the heated up embossing powder. Alright, now it's time for me to add the backdrop. And so I chose some oatmeal cookie cardstock as my card base and an A2 size top fold design. I love using oatmeal cookie cardstock as my card base, and it typically shows up in probably about 70–80% of my cards. Just a few more steps to go and the card will be complete. I'm gluing the edges on just a little bit more so that it doesn't curl up, and really love my Journey craft glue. It's amazing stuff and I use it on every card I create. Alright, so now it's time to do the sentiment, and I cut up the sentiment at first, and then I thought, nah, I think I'll use it as a whole and not just cut in half and double-decker kind of sentiment. And I think it turned out nice. Thanks so much for stopping by and watching this presentation. I hope you enjoyed it and will return again soon. Thank you.